Ha 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 ha. Good morning. What an absolute joy to be with you. Holy cow, what a MoMA. I have a pretty strong feeling that anything that I'm going to share, my thoughts that I'm going to share with you this morning, that there's nothing extraordinary or new about them. So and then the thought is, well, why would you even be here and listen, right? If that's the case. I don't know for you, but for me, I need repetition of truth. I need to hear it again and again. And I need to hear it in different ways. And we all have our own style of sharing a message. So, you get my thoughts today, and I hope that there will be something in here that will touch you, something that will be for you, to take with you, to support you, to uplift you, and to allow you to embody the incredible teachings of unity in a way that makes a difference in your life and in the life of all those who surround you. So that's my intention for this morning. When my daughter and I were co-writing my third book, This Life is Yours, we had this aha moment from all of our thinking and dwelling upon it in studies and everything. We had this realization that there is a predominant upside down thought in humanity. Upside down thought. And you know when it occurred to me? You're going to laugh. When I went to IKEA. Giles and I needed a sofa bed when we relocated. We went to IKEA, and I don't know about you, my heart beats faster when I get through into the maze of IKEA and the gajillion pieces of parts that frighten me, to tell you the truth, right? So we got the sofa bed, we brought it home. I had never put a piece of furniture together because of my aversion to it. We looked at the booklet. There's only 24 pages. We're like, oh, we should be able to do that together. So, I'm the organizer. I put all the parts out on the floor. I was the reader of the instructions, and Giles was assembling. So we did really, really well up to like page, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember which. And all of a sudden, we went to the next page, and we couldn't get the part on the way it was supposed to be. And, Giles has been known in the past to break furniture at that point because he's going to make it work. I said, stop, let's go back. Sure enough, when we turned the page back, we had put the last part on upside down. Now, you know as well as I do, if we had proceeded to either break the furniture or make it work, by the time we got to the end, the finished picture would look nothing like the cover of the booklet. You know what I mean? So upside down isn't very functional, that's all. It's just not very functional. So Alicia and I, as metaphysicians, we found lots of ways that applies in our life. And so for us, we really discovered from our conversations with friends and from the work we were doing about healing, about wholeness, we discovered that predominant upside down is endemic to humanity. It's at the heart of what I think it was Emily Cady said is the awful emptiness and homesickness at the heart of us. It's that fundamental kind of human insecurity, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm unworthy, I'm not enough. But the thought is, and you might have said it a time or two, I know I have, when I'm in the midst of something tough and somebody's trying to cheer me up, and I'd say, well, I'm only human. Does that sound familiar? Holy cow, I'm only human. What a outrageous, a reason to feel outraged at the recognition that somehow I got that message. Do you know? I didn't ask for that message, did you? I didn't ask to have that feeling of feebleness, that feeling of weakness as a human being, and neither did you. And it's taken me all how many decades of my lifetime to really understand it's not mine. That idea, that upside down thought, I don't have to own that. You don't have to own that, right? Does that do something to say to you, I don't have to believe that? I don't have to because it was given to me, I don't have to say it must be mine. But how many thoughts like that are part of your upside down understanding of the world? And I bet you that's one of the reasons you come to Unity, because we teach a different message than that, right? And one that empowers us rather than has us steeped in insufficiency. Because that's really what that idea of I'm only human, that means I'm not going to take responsibility for my experience. That means, I'm helpless and I need someone else. So the challenge with it is that it really has an effect on us. To believe I'm only human has a terrible effect on us. It causes the reaction of lowering our vital energy, because there's physiological response to our thoughts. You notice that, and of course it's part of our teachings, right? And so we lower our energy, and then we worry why we can't feel better or whatever, is because we're steeping ourselves in that thought of, I'm not enough. I can never be enough. Wow. And what really concerns me is that we give that message to the next generation. The world does that, not you personally, right? The world does that. And that, to me, is such an injustice. I mean, that's how we got to that idea of I'm only human, is it was given to us. And we want to not pass that along. Are you with me? Sure don't want to pass that idea along. But I think what has happened in humanity, if you look at history, that one of the broad effects of that mindset, I'm only human mindset, is that we cry out for a savior. If I'm insufficient, if I'm helpless, if I can't get my own life together, then I need a savior to do that for me. And this is where the development of the savior coming to swoop in and rescue has come from. And that's what religion developed to help ease the angst that comes from the thought, I'm only human. Does that make sense? I mean, it really it's logical and it's understandable, but that's a consequence of that, of harboring that idea that I'm only human. Because what comes along with that is something must be missing, wrong, or broken about me. Just feel that. Boy, she's so inspiring today, isn't she? We're going to turn it around. We are. But you don't have to look any further than our systems of medicine, our penal systems, all the systems that we've been operating with, particularly in the West, particularly in this country, that all continue that idea of insufficiency. I went to the doctor when I was in the best shape of my life, and she was bound and determined to find something that was wrong with me. Now, that's her job, right? I'm not knocking medicine when you need medicine, but looking until she could feel successful, that she found something that we need to take care of. That's our system, unlike an Eastern system of medicine where we're going to keep you well. We're going to work on the prevention aspects to the degree where then if I fail, if you get sick, the mentality of the professionals, right? Totally different way of thinking. The penal system, you might have heard of maybe a fictional society, maybe there's an actual one, where when a wrongdoer comes before the community, instead of locking them away where there's no chance of rehabilitation, they surround them and they sing their name, they tell them who they are, they insist that they clean up their act and serve the community as a way of atoning for their bad behavior. Whole different system, you see. So it's just, if you look, you can really see the effects of the mindset I'm only human. Wow. Well, I'm not going to belabor this any further because in unity we have a whole different story. Of course we're human. Are you not? Of course I'm human. But the story doesn't end there, does it? When I get to the end of my human, I can know there's more to me than this. And what is that? It's my divinity. I am 100% human, 100% divine. I know you've never heard that from Reverend Deanne, not even once, right? Yeah, that's the message. But to think about what that means to you, to know that. And to know that at a time when you're struggling with something deep, to know I am 100% human, but I can't say, because I know better, I can't say I'm only human, because there's an absolute limit to what I can do humanly. Boy, haven't we all walked into that wall? But when I understand for myself, I'm also 100% divine, spiritual. When I understand that, now I can give myself access to an infinity of capacity. Studying your 12 powers, right? Any of those capacities, your prayer chaplains can help you with that. They know how to pray in such a way to remind you of the power that is within you during tough times, right? So, people oftentimes, even in unity, I've heard, the thought that, that healing happens, that I'm waiting for healing to happen to me. And so another upside down thought that comes from that primary upside down thought is that that healing happens to me. The right side up thought is, I heal. Feel the difference for yourself. I heal. Now, there's something attached to that, right? Because how do I heal? When do I heal? All of that. I heal as I claim my rightful 100% spiritual nature. I heal as I claim it and put it into action in my life. When I can embody the principle of wholeness, I heal, as an example, right? And why would that be important? Because nothing, like if I'm experiencing sickness, it's just very, very easy to feel only human during that time. I'm having only human sneezing and snot and all the effects of not feeling well. It's really easy to just succumb to that only human, right? But how about if I deal with my human condition in the way that's necessary? I'm certainly going to afford myself of Kleenex and of medicine if needed, and rest, and all the things that are necessary physically for my healing time. But I'm not going to have to be mistaken by the thought that that's all that's going on. Because meanwhile, my nature is infinite. Meanwhile, my spirit is soaring, and wholeness is the truth about me. I can't be separated into this part's sick and this part's well, or this, right? We're not Kentucky Fried Chicken, after all. We're not pieces and parts. There's only wholeness. No, you like that. I'm often an unintentional comedian, so thank you. But the wholeness means nothing could ever be missing, wrong, or broken. Can we hear that? That's what wholeness means. Nothing could. Now, it can look that way through my human experience. It can feel that way. But what if I were to really take to heart that idea? I am 100% human and I'm 100% divine. What am I going to do with that divinity that I am? How can I ask that part of me to lead the way during a time of trouble, Like, so to know there is more to me than this. So healing, in my understanding, in my definition, is is claiming, it's reclaiming really my full identity. It's seeing myself truly, and then it's being able to establish where am I going to act from. Even when I'm going to humanly take good care of myself, I can direct that from my spiritual power, right? From that place of spiritual power. I can direct that. And I can not kid myself about what is real, because wholeness means I'm whole, and the whole me steps through my human experience, even if it's an unwanted experience. I'm whole as I go through that, and I arrive to like a state of healing from that, whole. Right? There's never a broken, nothing ever breaks along the way of that, even if things are difficult. So, where does that healing happen? It happens here in spiritual understanding, right? It happens that way. See, none of this is new, is it? It's not new, but hopefully it's a reminder. So, as we said, if I am experiencing an illness process, then I might want to tune into that aspect of my nature that is wholeness, that is divine life, right? I have an example from my days in San Antonio with one of the members who was a board member also, who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis as a young man. He was a dad of preteen boys, and he was, he wasn't even, I think, 40 years old at that time. Anyway, very quickly things developed where he had to leave his job and get onto disability, and he was fraught with worry about being an example to his children and being healthy, being there for them, being able to, even with all the things that were troubling about his physical condition. And I remember many, many long conversations with him and prayerful times with him until he got the conviction of life. He got the conviction of divine life is my life. And what that meant for him was putting that into action in ways that even when that fear would come up, when he'd have to go into the hospital because something wacky was going on physically, he would call himself back. He'd experience that, He'd experience it as a human, which we want to. We want to feel our humanity. And then he would take a breath and he would say, how do I know wholeness even right now? And so what this led him to do was in the morning when he would wake up, he would, wiggle his fingers and toes if they worked, and if he could put his legs off the bed and stand up, then he knew that he could carry on, physically that day. But on days where that became impossible, and there were those days, he began to think about how else could I use this time? If I have to remain in bed today because that's what my body needs, what else? That's not a wasted day. What am I going to do? And so he learned, he would call his family members to mind and pray for them, and he would hold them in mind and be their champions. He would think, and he would read things that inspired him, and he would use the time as well as he possibly could, knowing that this too is my life, right? This is not the extent of my life, this physical condition. It sure can feel like it though, can't it? And so the practices that we select to do at those times where we're struggling make all the difference to us in how we're going to navigate the time. Because really, if we're recovering from something, we're going to recover. It's going to take whatever time it takes. The question is, how am I going to use that time? What am I going to be thinking? How am I going to be behaving? What am I going to cling to and draw from within me? What power do I have spiritually? Do you like this? I mean, is this helpful? Yeah. And my dad demonstrated this last year in February. He made his transition at almost 94. No, he had just turned 94. Well, anyway, he claimed divine life when he was dying. Think about that. He died so well. He was he was active, never physically in years because he was wheelchair bound, but he would make stained glass art every day for hours in his assisted living bathroom. He called it his shower shop. And he was dedicated. He put out hundreds of pieces in a couple of years' time, including the beautiful treasures that I have in my home. And 3 days before he died, he was determined he was going to finish that final piece. My sister had to literally hold his hand because he was dozing off, and we're talking about, welding equipment. We're talking about dangerous stuff, right? She helped him until he finished that, and then he laid down and he breathed his last. I mean, what a demonstration of fearless love for life, and just life is the principle. Life is the principle. The whole me breathed his last breath. And that's healing. There's a healing right there, right? Whew. So what if we could become more masterful at dealing with our difficult situations by understanding that I am 100% human, and so I allow for all the feelings of that, for all the physical remedies and processes that I need in order to take good care of myself physically, and I am 100% spiritual, and let me bring that to the table. Let me bring my spiritual awareness into this so that I help myself immensely in how I stay on the side of wholeness and truth, So for a moment, just think, maybe even close your eyes and think about someone in your life experience, maybe recently, hopefully, that, you've had some challenges with, that they irritate you. or vice versa. They stop talking to me, right? Or someone that you're struggling with in relationship, but it matters to you because here they are on your mind. Here they are on your mind, right? And so to understand the human feelings that come up, maybe some frustration, maybe real regret, maybe longing to reconnect, understanding that, and then turning to divine love, the unifying power, the harmonizing power. And ask yourself, if I were to embody harmony, if I were to embody unity, to know that they and I are never separate, how might I experience this relationship differently? What would it mean to really claim harmony and unity? Think about what could happen. How would my thoughts be different? What might I say and do differently? Embodying divine love. You can open your eyes. Yeah. So, what we know that we can do, what I'm convinced today that I have the power for. Jesus demonstrated this in his ministry. He demonstrated this. You think about that. Jesus standing as the light of the world, standing as the Christ, knowing his Christ nature, which just simply means he knew his spiritual self. He knew that aspect of him that was pure spirit. He knew that. And he's standing there, humanly standing there with other people, and someone comes before him, please heal me. Jesus never said, let me heal you. Your faith has made you whole, right? And the way I interpret that, your faith makes you whole. No, you are, he said you are made whole. That's the way it's written, at least in the English translation of it. You are made whole. You are made of wholeness. Like wholeness is what you are made of, right? And he would say, hey, take up that bed and walk. take up your bed, right? They'd look at him, and then they'd take up their bed and walk. And we wonder, oh, he was performing miracles. Jesus was demonstrating wholeness, and it's all he was seeing in that other person was their wholeness, the truth about them. Never said, oh, ain't it awful? What are the doctors saying? You know, are you going to be okay? Not a word. No, take up your bed. Go, walk. In other words, get rid of that crutch and go forward. Live your life. And the crutch is that body of thought that says, I'm only human. And all the similar thoughts to that, right? That's the work. Jesus said, take up your bed and walk. And isn't that a wonderful way to think about what is possible? All right. So, to heal, H-E-A-L. H, to hold that principle of wholeness, of divine love, of strength, whatever principle you're going to take hold of, depending on your circumstance, you hold it. In other words, you're going to live with that principle. You're going to study it. You're going to be writing affirmations for yourself. You're going to give yourself the constant message of that principle. You're going to hold it. Then E, H-E, you're going to embody it. How am I going to think with that principle? How am I going to move forward using that principle in my life? And then A, I'm going to hold myself accountable. Maybe get an accountability partner so that I really do that work. You know, times of healing, aren't they when you look back on them, aren't they the most powerful spiritual times of your life when you're practicing? They have been for me. Some of the most terrible times of my life have turned out to be the most deep and rich spiritually because I need to put truth to work, right? I need to prove that principle in my life. And then L, live as fully as possible in, making what's the word? Making room for the circumstance itself. In other words, doing what is possible considering the circumstances at the time, right? You can't do everything if you're in bed sick, but what can you do? And spiritually, what can you do? So, H-E-A-L, this is how we heal. Are you with me? I'm so grateful for your attention, and I'd love for us to anchor this in a brief meditation experience, okay? Let's focus on wholeness. Yay. So, for a few moments, just tune into your own physicality. You know, just at the thought of your body, you're blessing it. So tune in. And just move through your body and, be grateful. Feel the appreciation for your beautiful organ systems, starting with the skin, the muscles and bones, the connective tissues, all those internal organs, your brain and your heart. Oh, whew, your lungs. Bless your body. Notice for a moment your emotions. What's up for you? What are you feeling? Let them in. Let them express. They're appropriate and essential, even if they seem unreasonable. Just feel your feelings. Inviting yourself to know and recognize I am 100% human and I'm 100% spiritual, divine. Let me open to infinity right now. Invite yourself into infinity, to stretch beyond the physical. And what of that infinity do you want to focus upon? Is it omniscience? Peace? Courage? Oh, there's an infinity of capacity. And here in this expanse, this infinite view, has me recognize that there can be no absence, only presence. Presence. So let's steep in the power of that presence, of that capacity that you are tuning into right now. Infinite love, infinite peace, infinite knowing, infinity in silence. I am a divine human with infinite capacity. Tell yourself the great truth. I am a divine human with infinite capacity. I am a divine human with infinite capacity. Breathe in, breathe out. Tell yourself that one more time and send that into the cells of your physicality. I am a divine human, infinite potential, infinite capacity. And so it is, and so it is. Amen? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.